My name is Maya, and I'm about to tell you the story of how I sacrificed my future for a lie. I used to wake up to the hum of traffic and the twinkle of skyscraper glass reflecting sunrise. My apartment on 42nd Street was more than just a place to sleep. It was my sanctuary. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city's pulse, a constant reminder that I was exactly where I belonged, at the center of opportunity. That morning, I had an 8:30 meeting with Jackson Chen, my director at Aurelia Creative. We were finalizing the pitch deck for Project Aurora, a campaign for a high-end eco-luxury brand. It was bold, unconventional, exactly the kind of work that could land me the senior strategist role they'd been teasing. I poured espresso into my mug, black as night, and skimmed the deck one last time. My heart thumped as Jackson leaned back, eyes gleaming. "You've outdone yourself, Maya," he said. His praise felt like champagne fizzing through my veins. "Aurora is going to set a new standard. I'll be recommending you for promotion at the next leadership meeting." My chest tightened, excitement mingled with disbelief. "Thank you. It means everything." He smiled, tapping his pen against the table. "You've earned it." Later that afternoon, I met friends at the Grove, an open-air bar wedged between art galleries and tech startups. Our table was a riot of laughter. I sipped my gin and tonic, savoring the warmth of camaraderie. Afterwards, I wandered the streets lost in post-work glow. Neon signs blinked overhead, the scent of food trucks mingled with warm asphalt. I sketched a quick doodle of the skyline in my leather-bound journal, imagining how Aurora's digital trees would blossom across those buildings. The city felt alive with promise. That night, tucked into my plush duvet, I drifted into dreams of glowing screens and boardroom triumphs. I was Maya Blake, unstoppable, on the brink of everything I'd ever wanted. My world shattered at 2:17 a.m. The ringtone, once my focus alarm, now felt like a funeral bell. "Hello?" My voice cracked. "Maya, it's Mother." She sounded smaller than I remembered. I sat up, heart hammering. "What's wrong?" It's Grandma. Her health has deteriorated. We think she's at death's door." Panic slammed into me. My grandmother, Eleanor Blake, had always been indomitable, a pillar of strength. What could have felled her now? "Mom, tell me exactly what's happening." "She's weak, can barely speak. She needs you, Maya. Only you can help her." Guilt ignited in my chest. I pictured Grandma in her lace shawl, frail and breathless, waiting for my arrival. My promotion meeting loomed in 2 days. My career, everything I'd worked for, distracted me when my family needed me. I swallowed hard. "I'll book a flight tonight." "Thank you, darling." Mother's relief was palpable, a tangible thing that cut through me like glass. Stepping off the train in my hometown felt surreal. The air smelled of pine and damp earth, a far cry from city exhaust. My suitcase wheels rattled across cracked pavement. The old Victorian cottage looked smaller, the paint peeling where I remembered it glossy. Inside, the house smelled of lavender sachets and decay. I hesitated at the threshold. Family photos lined the walls. A younger me in pigtails, Grandma beaming beside my first bicycle, her stern posture in a World War II uniform, her soft smile at my college graduation. All of it now felt haunted. I found Eleanor in the parlor, seated in her favorite armchair. A shawl cocooned her thin frame. Her eyes fluttered open as I knelt beside her. "My dear Maya," her voice was a whisper, brittle and distant. She reached out, fingers trembling. I grasped her hand. Her skin felt like crepe paper. "Grandma, I'm here." She sighed, a long, mournful sound. "I knew you would come." The moment felt scripted, too perfect. Yet as her gaze held mine, guilt dripped through my veins. "How are you feeling?" Her lips quivered. "Terrible. Every breath a battle." She coughed, clutching her chest. I leapt up, fetching water. Aunt Caroline drifted in. Maya, you're an angel. She pressed a porcelain teacup into my hand. I don't know how we'd manage without you. I looked around at familiar faces, cousins with sorrowful eyes, friends from church with knitted brows, each expression designed to squeeze me dry of doubts. Duty wrapped around me like binding rope. I moved in that night, settling into Grandma's spare room. My city life, my apartment, my projects, my friends, felt like a distant dream. Dawn arrived with a soft knock on the door. I opened it to find Eleanor, shawl drooping over one shoulder, eyes heavy. Her voice was a soft rasp. "May, could you help me to the garden? I want to see the roses one last time." I bent to lift her. She sighed, nestling into my arms. "You're so strong, my girl." Inside, my heart churned. Part of me swelled with love. Another part whispered questions. Why did her hand barely tremble when she thought no one watched? Why did I always feel guilt before anything else? Later, she complained of dizziness. I've fetched her lace-trimmed blouse and helped button each pearl-like button. She winced at the touch, a masterful pantomime of pain. At the doorway, she clutched my arm. "My life is in your hands." Her words cut deeper than any blade. I nodded, blinking back tears. "I'll never leave you." Aunt Caroline hovered behind me. "She's so lucky to have you." I pretended to smile, even as resentment simmered beneath the surface. Lying awake, I stared at floral wallpaper, yellowed with age. What have I done? My mind raced. I've abandoned my life for a story that doesn't feel real. Each pang of guilt was a loyal guard, whispering that love demanded sacrifice. But sacrifice for what? A grandmother who may not even need saving? I closed my eyes, willing sleep to come, but images of my empty apartment and the buzzing skyline haunted me. I felt trapped, tethered by blood and obligation. Days bled into one another. I escorted her to doctor's appointments, coaxed her to swallow bland pills, measured her water intake to the milliliter. Meanwhile, life in the city marched on without me. One evening, I logged onto Zoom for the trivia night I'd been too busy to cancel. 4 faces greeted me. Emma's bright grin, Raj's ironic smirk, Carlos's nervous wave, and Lena's sympathetic look. "May, you made it!" Emma exclaimed. I forced a smile. "Traffic," I cleared my throat. "Family emergency." They shrugged and started the game. Questions flashed. Who wrote Frankenstein? What year did Apollo 11 land? I answered mechanically, mind drifting to the bank statements I'd promised myself I'd check later. After the first round, they skipped the next question set. "We can catch up next time," Raj said, glancing at the clock. The call ended in polite goodbyes. My screen flicked to black. They moved on so easily. I felt a hollow ache. The trivia night was more than a game. It was our ritual, a tie to my old self. Now it was gone. One afternoon, I discovered my leather sketchbook buried on a high shelf. I blew off the dust and opened it. Inside, sketches tumbled out. A watercolor cityscape, a charcoal portrait of Grandma laughing, design mock-ups for Aurora. My fingertips trembled as I traced a drawing of myself standing atop a building at night. Arms spread, eyes lifted to neon skies. Tears stung my eyes. Who am I if I'm not creating? The pages mocked me, frozen moments of inspiration I'd abandoned. I closed the book and tucked it under my pillow. The guilt returned instantly, as if the sketches knew I'd betrayed them. That night, I sat on Grandma's porch swing. the wooden boards creaking beneath me. The moon cast silver light over the garden. I rocked slowly, mind spiraling. I left behind everything I built, my career, my friends, my identity. And for what? Every thank you and "you're a saint" felt like an accusation. I should be grateful, loyal. But loyalty had limits. The cost was more than missing trivia and dusty art supplies. It was my future, sold piece by piece under the guise of devotion. My phone glowed in my lap. A notification: Jackson Chen mentioned you in a comment. I opened it. Maya, we need your final input on Aurora. Tomorrow's the big presentation. I stared at the message. My pulse thundered. The city side of me reached out, begging for release, yet guilt pinned me in place. The next morning, I found Grandma in the dining room, fingering a chipped teacup. Her face was pale, lips parted in a silent plea. I set my mug down. Grandma, Jackson needs my notes by tonight. I have to finish the Aurora pitch. She looked up, eyes glistening. My dear, your career will wait. My life won't. I swallowed. But, Grandma, they're counting on me. She patted the seat beside her. I sat. Her hand brushed mine, cold and soft. Do you remember when you were 10 and we planted marigolds in the garden? I nodded, surprised by the memory. You taught me how to nurture them, how to prune the dead leaves. She smiled with effort. You had such love for those flowers. You'd talk to them like they were your children. Your dreams need that kind of care, Maya. I frowned. They do, and right now, they're wilted waiting for me. Her voice weakened. Your dreams, lovely, but family is forever. She closed her eyes and coughed. I need you. Desperation echoed in her glance. I stood, torn between my career. Hell, it was screaming. Yet here was Grandma, a single, frail figure pleading for loyalty. I knelt and kissed her forehead. I'm here. Her lips curved into a triumph. Thank you. As I walked away, my resolve crumbled. Guilt had won again. That night, I sat on Grandma's porch swing, the wooden boards creaking beneath me. The moon cast silver light over the garden. I rocked slowly, mind spiraling. I left behind everything I built, my career, my friends, my identity. And for what? Every thank you and "you're a saint" felt like an accusation. I should be grateful, loyal. But loyalty had limits. The cost was more than missing trivia and dusty art supplies. It was my future, sold piece by piece under the guise of devotion. My phone glowed in my lap. A notification: Jackson Chen mentioned you in a comment. I opened it. Maya, we need your final input on Aurora. Tomorrow's the big presentation. I stared at the message. My pulse thundered. The city side of me reached out, begging for release, yet guilt pinned me in place. The next morning, I found Grandma in the dining room, fingering a chipped teacup. Her face was pale, lips parted in a silent plea. I set my mug down. Grandma, Jackson needs my notes by tonight. I have to finish the Aurora pitch. She looked up, eyes glistening. My dear, your career will wait. My life won't. I swallowed. But, Grandma, they're counting on me. She patted the seat beside her. I sat. Her hand brushed mine, cold and soft. Do you remember when you were 10 and we planted marigolds in the garden?
I nodded, surprised by the memory. You taught me how to nurture them, how to prune the dead leaves. She smiled with effort. You had such love for those flowers. You'd talk to them like they were your children. Your dreams need that kind of care, Maya. I frowned. They do, and right now they're wilted waiting for me. Her voice weakened. Your dreams, lovely, but family is forever. She closed her eyes and coughed. I need you. Desperation echoed in her glance. I stood, torn between my career. Hell, it was screaming. Yet here was Grandma, a single, frail figure pleading for loyalty. I knelt and kissed her forehead. I'm here. Her lips curved into a triumph. Thank you. As I walked away, my resolve crumbled. Guilt had won again.
That night, I lay awake, imagination ablaze with what-ifs. What if Aurora bombs without my input? What if Grandma really does slip away? The stakes felt impossibly high on both sides. Duty and ambition waged war inside me, each demanding surrender. I thought of Jackson's proud smile, of Emma's laughter, of my sketchbook begging for attention. Then I thought of Grandma's trembling hand, of her pleading eyes. My chest tightened until I could almost not breathe. Tomorrow, I decided, I would call work. I would explain. I would ask for more time. Because I had to. Because there was no other choice. I would sacrifice myself once more. Until I broke. And so the first pillar of my prison was laid. The decision to stay. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Grandma's driveway as I pulled in, exhausted from a day of errands. I fumbled for my keys, only to find the front door unlocked. My pulse spiked. Grandma always insisted on double locks, even when she was at her weakest. I pushed the door open, the hinges whining in protest. Grandma? I called, voice hushed. Silence greeted me. I slipped off my shoes, creeping down the hallway. A low hum of conversation drifted from the study. My heart thundered. It wasn't her raspy whisper. It was firm, assured. I pressed my ear to the door. Inside, Eleanor's voice rang out, clear as a bell. No, Frank. The painting was a steal at that price. I got them to agree without hesitation. Her tone was businesslike, confident. Next up are the land deeds. Once they're sold, I'll have enough funds to retire on. My granddaughter is too busy playing nurse to notice anything. A male voice, amused, replied, Brilliant, Eleanor. They never suspect a frail old woman. She laughed, a rich, unrestrained sound. Exactly. Let them fuss over my coughs and fevers. Meanwhile, I collect every penny they throw at me. My knees threatened to buckle. I stepped back, hand pressed to my mouth to stifle a gasp, and fled down the hall, door clicking shut behind me. Blood pounded in my ears. Betrayal tasted like bile in the back of my throat. I must have misheard. The logical part of me railed. Grandma couldn't do something like that. She was sick. She was innocent. This had to be a misunderstanding. Yet the words echoed. Steal at that price. My granddaughter is too busy playing nurse. Frail old woman. My breath came in ragged bursts. A cold sweat slicked my palms. Images from the past months assembled themselves in my mind's eye. Small details I'd brushed aside. The way her trembling hand never shook when no one was looking. The whispered late-night phone calls she claimed were from her doctor. The week she couldn't walk but somehow managed to rearrange the garden beds alone at dawn. the constant apologies she never needed to make. These were no coincidences. A tightening knot formed in my chest. I've been deceived. Denial flickered. Perhaps it was someone else, someone named Eleanor. But the voice, the accent, that unmistakable timbre, it was her. My stomach churned. I need proof. But where? How far did this go? And more terrifying, what if I'm already too late? I paced the tiles, the weight of realization crushing me. I have to find out the truth. Night fell like a curtain as I sat at the kitchen table, sheet after sheet of blank legal pads before me. My mind whirled with plans. My instincts, sharpened by years of analytical work, kicked in. If Grandma was manipulating everyone, there would be evidence. Financial records, legal documents, video proof. I sank my forehead into my palms. I never wanted to betray her, but betrayal had come to me first. I can't go back to pretending. I glanced at the living room's antique mantel clock. 9:47 p.m. The house was silent, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator. My chance would come soon. The next morning, I made my way to Rising Leaf Electronics in town. My heart throbbed as I surveyed the aisles of cameras. Security, never my favorite word, felt like the only way forward. An inconspicuous nanny cam, Wi-Fi enabled, small enough to hide in a drapery tassel. At home, I waited until Grandma settled in her armchair for her afternoon rest. I slipped into the study carrying the cam and a roll of double-sided tape. Hands trembling, I affixed it behind a framed photograph of my parents' wedding. The lens peeked out, undetected. I feel like a spy, I thought, clipping the Wi-Fi dongle into my laptop. But I need to know.
That night, I sat in my childhood bedroom turned operations center, laptop illuminating my face. I connected to the camera feed. The timestamp glowed in the corner. 2:15 p.m. Grandma slumped in her chair, eyes closed. The video was grainy, but clear enough. Then she stirred. The shawl slid from her shoulders. Leaning forward, she rolled her neck, cracked her knuckles. She pushed herself up without effort, revealing a spine straighter than I'd ever seen. Her eyes flicked to the door. No audience? Then she tiptoed out. My breath hitched. I clicked forward. 2:18 p.m. There she was, in the living room, performing a sun salutation sequence, flowing, controlled, not a tremor, not a wheeze. She moved like a dancer. My heart plunged. This is real. I closed my laptop as though the images might leap out and accuse me. A single tear traced my cheek. Guilt warred with outrage. I had to dig deeper. Later that night, when the house settled into an uneasy quiet, I rose from my bed. The digital clock read 3:02 a.m. My pulse fluttered. I dressed in black yoga pants and a sweatshirt, the softest soles of my slippers guiding me down the hallway. The study door was ajar. I pushed it open silently. The air smelled of ink and old paper. Moonlight spilled through the window, illuminating the oak desk. I froze at the threshold. If she wakes, I'm done for. I gingerly stepped inside. My slippers whispered against the rug. I knelt by the desk and slid my hand under a stack of bills, feeling for concealed files. The drawers lay locked. Grandma was always meticulous. My breath caught, but then I remembered that ornate silver key she wore around her neck. She'd taken it off and left it on her dresser in the bedroom. I crept back, heart pounding, tiptoeing across creaky floorboards. The key lay on the nightstand, gleaming softly in lamplight. I snatched it and returned to the study. I turned the key in the bottom drawer. The click echoed like thunder. Slowly, I pulled it open. Inside,
faded manila folders labeled in Eleanor's neat script: estate, finances, medical. I slid out estate. My fingers shook as I sifted through crisp pages: real estate contracts stamped with county seals, land deeds signed by Eleanor Blake, dated in the last 6 months, properties I'd thought would become mine, sold off for hush money. My breath caught. Next to the contracts lay a report from Brookhaven Medical Center. Patient Eleanor Blake. Diagnosis: excellent musculoskeletal health. No significant impairments noted. The report date: 2 weeks ago.
Later that night, when the house settled into an uneasy quiet, I rose from my bed. The digital clock read 3:02 a.m. My pulse fluttered. I dressed in black yoga pants and a sweatshirt, the softest soles of my slippers guiding me down the hallway. The study door was ajar. I pushed it open silently. The air smelled of ink and old paper. Moonlight spilled through the window, illuminating the oak desk. I froze at the threshold. If she wakes, I'm done for. I gingerly stepped inside. My slippers whispered against the rug. I knelt by the desk and slid my hand under a stack of bills, feeling for concealed files. The drawers lay locked. Grandma was always meticulous. My breath caught, but then I remembered that ornate silver key she wore around her neck. She'd taken it off and left it on her dresser in the bedroom. I crept back, heart pounding, tiptoeing across creaky floorboards. The key lay on the nightstand, gleaming softly in lamplight. I snatched it and returned to the study. I turned the key in the bottom drawer. The click echoed like thunder. Slowly, I pulled it open. Inside, faded manila folders labeled in Eleanor's neat script: estate, finances, medical. I slid out estate. My fingers shook as I sifted through crisp pages. Real estate contracts stamped with county seals, land deeds signed by Eleanor Blake, dated in the last 6 months, properties I'd thought would become mine, sold off for hush money. My breath caught. Next to the contracts lay a report from Brookhaven Medical Center. Patient Eleanor Blake. Diagnosis: excellent musculoskeletal health. No significant impairments noted. The report date: 2 weeks ago.
I sank to the floor, contracts scattered like fallen leaves around me. My chest heaved, breath stuttering. Years of devotion, of sleepless nights and lost weekends lay exposed as lies. Tears spilled unchecked. I stared at the contracts, the doctor's report, the invisible betrayal inked across every sheet. I saw my reflection in the window, puffy eyes, tear-streaked cheeks, exhaustion carved into my skin. My city life, my promotion, my friendships, gone. The cost of my sacrifice had been squandered by the person I loved most. Memories flooded me. The promotion I let slip because I was too busy administering pills. My friends' unanswered texts. My sketchbook gathering dust. Each moment felt like a stitch in a tapestry woven of guilt and manipulation. My sobs slowed, tears drying on my cheeks. Anger rose from the ashes of heartbreak, cold, precise, and terrifying. I will make this right. I gathered the documents, cradling them like evidence in a courtroom. My resolution crystallized. I stood, clutching the folder. The moonlight caught my eyes. They were no longer red with grief, but sharpened by purpose. I crept out of the study, careful not to disturb the house's fragile silence. My heart no longer pounded with fear, it beat with resolve. Tomorrow, I would begin the reckoning. This would not stand.
The night before the birthday celebration, sleep eluded me. My mind replayed the security footage, the elegant spine, the laughter on the phone, and the contracts that bore her signature, I paced my childhood bedroom, clutching the folder to my chest like a talisman. Confrontation without proof was futile. Eleanor's strength lay in her tears and shaky voice. She thrived in denial, spinning pity into armor. To pierce that armor, I needed an audience, the family who had cheered my sacrifice. Their collective guilt would magnify the truth. I envisioned the rented hall, white drapes, crystal chandeliers, tables dressed in ivory linens. Fairy lights would glimmer like sentinels. At the center, Grandma Eleanor would sit, the queen of her own tragic tale. Leveraging the symbol of her brave fight, I would lay bare her betrayal. I stepped forward, heart steady, and placed the briefcase on the table. The click of its latch sounded louder than thunder. "I love you, Grandma," I began, voice calm but charged. The room tilted under my words. "I gave up everything for you. My career, my friends, my future." Murmurs rippled as I unclipped the folder. Contracts spilled onto the linen, each sheet a testament to her deception. "These," I said, tapping the top document, "are the properties you sold behind our backs." My eyes locked onto Eleanor's, unflinching. She gasped, pale as the tablecloth. "This is outrageous." I retrieved my tablet and tapped the screen. The security footage flickered to life on a portable monitor. Eleanor in the garden at dawn, lifting a heavy ceramic urn, humming a jaunty tune. She bent low, hands steady, then executed a flawless yoga stretch. Gasps echoed. Aunt Caroline's hand flew to her mouth. One cousin staggered back, eyes wide. "That's not," they whispered. Without pause, I slid the medical report across the table. "And this," I said, voice calm, "is your clean bill of health from Brookhaven Medical Center, dated 2 weeks ago." The typed words glowed starkly on the page. "Excellent musculoskeletal health, no impairments noted." Eleanor's composure cracked. She rose unsteadily, shawl slipping from her shoulders. "You're lying! You tricked me!" My eyes hardened. "I didn't trick you. I found the truth." The table trembled as voices rose. "How could you?" Aunt Margaret sobbed. "We trusted you." The cluster of relatives recoiled as if a viper had struck. Aunt Caroline sank onto her chair, tears streaming. We never imagined." Her voice broke. My cousins fanned themselves in disbelief. "I feel so stupid," one mumbled, head in hands. Another whispered, "She made us all complicit." Eleanor lunged forward, voice raw. "After all I've given you, this is how you repay me? Look what you're doing to me, your poor, sick grandmother." No one came to her aid. Sympathy turned to shame. The evidence lay on the table, immovable. Eleanor's facade shattered. She clutched her shawl, every syllable broken. "You're cruel," she hissed, voice shrill. "You're killing me." No one offered comfort. The family's sympathy stranded in the wake of truth, their eyes, once filled with pity, now burned with remorse. Eleanor's shoulders shook as tears spilled free, a torrent of rage, shame, and panic. Her makeup ran down her face. She dropped to her knees, leaning on the table. I did it for us," she gasped. "I needed security, family, needed loyalty." But her words rang hollow. A solitary candle flickered between us, its flame unsteady. I watched her collapse into herself, reduced from matriarch to frightened child. The aftermath unfolded slowly, like dawn breaking over a storm. Attorneys were consulted in hushed phone calls. Contracts were voided, escrow accounts frozen. The sold properties entered legal limbo. The family, stripped of excuses, confronted their enabling silence. That night, I returned to my childhood home, empty and echoing with the absence of deceit. The folder of evidence lay in my suitcase. I placed my hand on the oak mantel, now free of cameras and secrets. In the days that followed, news of the scandal rippled through our small town. Some relatives drifted away, shame in their eyes. Others rallied to help me untangle the legal mess. Aunt Caroline apologized tearfully, but her regret could not rewrite the past. Finally free of guilt, I boarded a train back to the city. As the skyline emerged, I inhaled its familiar hum. My phone buzzed with messages, job offers, coffee invitations, voices from the life I had almost abandoned forever. Standing on my balcony, watching the neon lights wink awake, I held the battered contracts in my hand. They were more than paper. They were the final, brutal proof that I would never again be anyone's puppet. The future stretched before me, uncharted and thrilling. I pressed accept on the new job offer and closed my eyes, savoring the promise of tomorrow. The city roared beneath me, and for the first time in years, I felt truly, irrevocably free.